and Gabby Williams were slow to get up after a collision under...
After a head-on collision, supporters believed Lexie Hull's night was finished. A few minutes later, she was back on the court, diving for rebounds as if nothing had happened, despite having a knot on her forehead. And you learned everything there is to know about the Indiana Fever team from that one act of bravery. Without Caitlin and half of their guards, they entered Nike's massive Caitlin Clark celebration night and left with a season-ending victory over the Seattle Storm. So how did Kelsey Mitchell, Odyssey Sims, Aaliyah Boston, and Hull change the entire Fever story in a single night? What was said by Aaliyah Boston on the match that has everyone in the locker room energized? Comment "I have the fever" if you agree with the statement.
Woo! First home game. Got a dub. Let's get it.
Big dub. Let's go.
Fever dub. Bow. Woo! Dubs. It's giving sweet.
Come on.
First game at home. I got a dub. Let's acquire it. Big dub.
Come on. Dub.
It's giving sweet. The difficulties facing Indiana began well before the first tip. Caitlin Clark had been out since mid-July due to a groin injury, and she was still not well. Sydney, Ari McDonald, and Sophie Cunningham joined her on the list of people who couldn't be reached, Carlson. While Chloe BBY was still coping with knee pain, everyone else was battling with season-ending injuries. Due to the Fever losing the majority of their guard rotation, the starters had to play a significant amount of minutes on a pivotal night, and the bench had to stretch thin.
B's been the one that's been most affected by all of our injuries. You know, all of the point guards that know how to get her the ball and how they get it to her. And it's not just getting her the ball, it's where you get it to her. You know, getting it to her on time, on target, you know, thinking one pass ahead, you know, all that matters. And I thought today, her aggressiveness with the ball in her hands to the rim, getting into defenders, playing low to high instead of high to low. When she plays like that, you know, there's nobody that can stop her. And, you know, she set the tone for us, really on both ends. You know, she had the NECA assignment as well and set the tone for us on both ends. And, you know, she was terrific.
It couldn't have come at a worse time. Indiana was sliding back into the postseason picture after losing 4 of their previous 5 games. With a 19-18 record going into the game, they were in 8th and final place for the postseason, while Seattle was right behind them in 6th place. Each and every possession was important for clawing uphill in a standings race split by a single victory, as well as for preventing another losing run. It was impossible to deny the urgency for both players and fans.
Aaliyah, this is a string of games, beginning of a string of games against the teams you're competing for a playoff spot against. Did this game feel more important in that regard? And I guess how big was it to get a win in this one?
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, we talked about that this was going to be a big game for us, considering the standings where Seattle was. But, you know, going into the West Coast trip, I mean, right now we're just going to be focused on LA. That's kind of been our motto this entire season, is just focus on the game ahead of you, be where your feet are. And so starting tomorrow, we're going to be looking at LA. But, I mean, this next string of games definitely important for us, but we got to take it one game at a time.
However, prior to the ball being tossed, the mood at Gainbridge Fieldhouse conveyed a different message. Fans were queued up to take photographs, banners were hung across railings, and promotional shirts were everywhere in the stands as Caitlin Clark's new Nike logo unveiling transformed the arena into an off-court party against backdrops that are branded. The evening was thoughtfully planned around Clark's celebrity and her impact as a player and a cultural figure. However, the irony was scathing. Clark remained on the sidelines, observing from the floor as teammates battled to maintain the team's hopes of making the playoffs.
Feels good. Got the pants, got the charms, necklace, zipper, everything.
On the ground, the adjustment was looming. Indiana had to rely on interior scoring and rebounds to give themselves a chance because they lacked multiple veteran ball handlers to stabilize the offense and Clark's outside shooting to stretch defenses. Seattle with. They appeared to be the type of opponent who could take full advantage of Indiana's limited rotation, with a veteran core still trying to guarantee their own postseason spot. Few people in the building anticipated anything less than a fierce battle.
It's special. I mean, you know, there's very few people who get the opportunity to say that they have a logo and to make the impact that she makes, not just, I think, in the sport, but globally, just by being who she is. She's a connector. She brings people together. And, I think for us to be a part of that, and whether it's, as simple as being able to celebrate all of these things with her, or, as much as walking out into the arena and seeing the whiteout on the chairs out there, it's really cool. And it's really special and shoot, I'm talking about it right now, and just feeling the intense gratitude for me personally, being in women's basketball, to be able to be a part of this moment, and to celebrate with her.
Nevertheless, the Fever players exuded a certain intensity. They accepted the occasion as a test of their fortitude rather than allowing the wounds and the joyful diversions to define the evening. Each defensive rotation appeared more incisive. With each box out generating a little more contact, the audience, encouraged by Clark's off-court appearance but yearning for someone else to step up, started to support the work on the ground. The pivotal moment of the evening took place in that delicate, high-pressure setting. It was a single encounter that highlighted Indiana's tenacity.
And Gabby Williams were slow to get up after a collision underneath the basket. Here's what happened.
Oh, that is a major collision for the two of them. They both knock heads. It took them both some time to get to their feet.
In the first quarter, it took place. When Lexie Hull and Gabby Williams collided forcefully, they were both pursuing a loose ball beneath the hoop. Both athletes fell to the ground as the sound of heads colliding reverberated around the arena. Williams remained on the bench, but Hull grabbed her forehead and went straight to the locker room. The cameras caught the edema starting almost immediately. Both inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse and at home, there was a noticeable bump that made people cringe. The audience fell silent. It seemed like the tipping point to lose Hull in addition to 5 other injured colleagues.
On that play.
Well, I didn't know exactly what happened when it happened. It was kind of just like a clash. But looking at the video, it just, Gabby and I ran into each other. Unlucky. I think we both have knots on our heads, so we both kept playing, so it's all right.
Were you pretty dazed when you...
Yeah, I think it's more of like what just happened, big collision. I just need some time. Felt my face, felt a growing knot, so that doesn't feel...
Fans thought that was the end of her evening. When you see the knot building on their head, it is impossible for someone to take a shot like that and return to the same game. The problem is that, despite Hull's lackluster scoring ability, her contribution is unavoidable on an Indiana team that is severely shorthanded. She works hard to protect the best guards and 50-50 balls. He provides the kind of enthusiasm that ties the other players together. Indiana would have been considerably more vulnerable on the outside without her. The entire building was aware of it. The group's idea was straightforward. How can they possibly survive without her? Passed. Then, very unexpectedly, Paul returned and checked in again. She walked on the floor with the same vigor as before, despite the visible swelling. Everything was revealed in her first possession. She jumped to the ground and chased a stray ball as if it were nothing. Occurred. When she returned, the audience cheered and stood up. What appeared to be a conclusion became the night's flare. Even though Hall later acknowledged that she was confused immediately following the incident, she returned and played a significant amount of minutes. She even made a joke about how everyone thought she looked stunning in spite of the enormous bump.
Getting back on the bench, was everybody just kind of staring at your forehead directly? And...
I knew, yeah. Everyone's like, you look beautiful. I'm like, I know I look insane. But it honestly looks better now than it did when it first happened, so hopefully this goes down quick.
Did you glance up at the video board to see it? Did you get a look at it?
No, I could see it looking out. I could see it just from my own eyes. So I didn't need to look anywhere. I knew it was going to be big.
No way. So it's in your peripheral vision?
Yes. It was literally sticking out. I mean, it's still big right here, but it was bigger and I could see it. So they brought it down a little. Your
teammates, your coach, the GM, everybody just kind of talking about your toughness, I guess. So there's not really a good way to ask that question, but if you could just talk to me about that toughness and where that comes from.
I mean, if I can play, if I feel like I can play, whether or not I look good or not isn't the problem. So, I think for me, it's just the team is the most important thing, getting wins the most important thing, and if I can contribute in any way I can, that's what I'm going to do. So if it's playing a little injured, playing a little hurt, that is what it is.
The crew swiftly came to the conclusion that they should continue fighting. Aaliyah Boston later clarified what the starters and bench had witnessed. She referred to Hull as the epitome of tough. It wasn't only compliments. It gave the identification the Fever displayed that evening a name.
Seeing her fight through what sure was not very pleasant.
I feel like Lexie's the definition of tough.
Yes.
I think when you just think of her as a player, the way that she hustles, she likes to get loose balls, extra offensive possessions. That's what she does. I mean, she got hit, she came back and just continued to contribute again. Was a pest on defense, just making her presence felt, offensive rebounds, and that's just who Lexie is. So.
Thus, their coach had the same opinion. Stephanie White praised Hull as unshakable, but termed the crash nasty. According to White, she never displays signs of pain. She simply stands back up and competes for every possession, which is exactly what she did.
I mean, that was disgusting. I don't know if y'all saw it, but I mean, it's who she is. She's just a tough young woman who battles every possession, and you can never tell if Lexie if she's hurt, if she's injured, if she goes down, if she gets back up. She just always has the same expression, and she just
because of the small guard rotation, and Aaliyah Boston made sure Seattle felt it on every play. She made life terrible for anyone who attempted to obstruct her while scoring 27 points and pulling down 9 rebounds. She was able to establish a deep position, clear space with her body, and finish with a force that made the Storm double, but still failed. When Boston treated the paint as though it were her own, there was a shift in energy, and the Star accepted the responsibility of carrying an offense.
And good hands there by Aaliyah. Boston just wrestles it away from Agumake, and here is Mitchell.
Top blocker inside the cylinder of the rim.
There was just no answer in Seattle. You could sense how overburdened their front court was at the half. They were outnumbered 42-21, which is not often the case at this level. Boston appeared to catch every missed shot. Additionally, the Storm was unable to provide any rhythm as second-chance points accumulated. When their guards attempted to enter, they kept running into traffic, and annoyance began to surface as nothing emerged around the arc. Boston was in control of the flow on both ends, making it feel like a one-sided war inside.
It's just a really good job. That's what I'm talking about. An extra dribble to get Malanga inside the cylinder of the rim.
It's been a strong start to the third quarter here for Indiana. An 11-point lead has grown to 16, and Boston adding to it, and one and a foul.
Screen and roll, and a good steal. I say that.
With her typical consistent scoring, Kelsey Mitchell contributed 21 points, stretching Seattle's defense and preventing them from focusing solely on Boston. Mitchell's outside play maintained equilibrium even in the absence of Clark spacing the floor. Mitchell responded each time the Storm closed the distance or appeared ready to run. It was the kind of constancy that indicated Indiana still possessed perimeter firepower. The combination of Boston, Sims, and Mitchell gave the Fever a persona that was very different from desperation. It appeared to be in charge.